My name is H.A. Goodman. I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And to read my writing and to see my latest CNN appearances and my MSNBC and RT appearances, you can go to hagoodman.com. I'll be starting a new publication February 1st. You're going to love it. Gabbard says she met with Assad in Syria. So, Tulsi Gabbard, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, met with Assad. And before I read that, I'm going to explain quickly why Tulsi Gabbard and Nina Turner and um, Bernie Sanders and Jill Stein frighten the Democratic Party, and why Tulsi Gabbard in particular frightens the DNC, the Democrats, and even many Republicans. There is no anti war movement in the United States of America. I should preface that by saying there is. And in terms of a widespread movement, Democrats have completely destroyed or undermined any semblance of caring for or allowing an anti war movement. And what I mean by that is not even forget about the days where you would just see peace signs. I'm talking about a movement that opposes regime change. The neoconservative philosophy from George Bush completely destroyed the Middle East. Neocons completely destroyed the Middle East. Most people can agree with that. If you have a functioning brain cell in your brain, you can pretty much agree, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, that neoconservatives, that philosophy, bringing democracy to Iraq, was not good for the United States of America, and it certainly was horrendous for the Middle East. It emboldened Iran. It caused an even greater rift between Saudi Arabia and Iran through a great many proxy wars in Yemen and Iraq. In Afghanistan and in Iraq, you don't have functioning democracies. In many cases, you have chaos and bloodshed. You have IS throughout the Middle East and North Africa. So the regime change the neocons started under Bush continued under President Obama, and Hillary Clinton was advised by neoconservatives. This gets me to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard left the DNC actually during the primary, so she was not only extremely courageous, but she stood on principle. She knew it was a corrupt organization. She left the DNC. She's still a Democrat, but she actually has a philosophy that is anti-perpetual counterinsurgency war, anti-perpetual, never-ending, endless American involvement in the Middle East. She's a veteran. Tulsi Gabbard is a veteran. So she understands the ravages of war and the sacrifices people make, as do all veterans. The point I'm saying, though, is that there is no anti-war movement in the U.S. So there's no way for Democrats, establishment Democrats, I should say, to understand or value or appreciate her meeting with Assad. So I'll read you. Gabbard says she met with Assad in Syria. Representative Tulsi Gabbard on Wednesday acknowledged she met with Syrian President Bashar Assad during a secret trip to Syria. In an interview with CNN's The Lead, Gabbard defended meeting Assad and said any peace negotiations must include the Syrian leader whose regime has been embattled in a civil war with rebel groups in 2011. Do you think if you care about Syria, if you're a Democrat or progressive, or you hate Trump, or you love Trump, if you care about Syria, do you think there's going to be a solution without Assad? If you're Hillary Clinton or a Clinton backer, do you have a post-Assad plan? Did Obama or Hillary Clinton or any of the Bush's neocons have a post-Assad plan? Once they removed Assad, so they removed Gaddafi, Obama removed Gaddafi, Bush removed Saddam Hussein, and initially the Taliban in Afghanistan. What took place in those power vacuums? What happened? Mayhem, chaos, governments that eventually pretended to side with us but didn't really side with us. So you know the history. I don't have to tell you the history of these things. Tulsi Gabbard actually cares about, number one, the United States of America, number two, the Syrian people. If you care about the Syrian people, then there has to be some kind of peace deal. Bill Clinton worked with Milosevic to find some kind of peace deal in the Balkans. That's an example of a Democrat working with somebody who was a war criminal. So the point is, if you're Nero, so for example, the other day, I tweeted Neera Tanden and Joan Walsh were horrified that Tulsi Gabbard used a quote from Gandhi on Twitter. So I went ahead and tweeted out, what did I tweet? Something, oh, like it's official. They don't like Tulsi Gabbard. And I said, the reason they don't like Tulsi Gabbard is because she's a true progressive and she's a threat to the DNC and Democrats. She's a threat and she's a true progressive, but mainly she's a threat to the Democratic Party because she actually embodies, symbolizes an anti war movement, at least a push towards an, an ending to quagmires and American involvement and sending Americans back to never ending counterinsurgency wars where half to two-thirds of all American soldiers killed and wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan were the victims of IED blasts. Tulsi Gabbard knows all of that and a million times more than I would ever know because she's a veteran. So the point is, Congressman Gabbard is a threat. Democratic Party and Republican parties, the establishments of both, have merged into one on foreign policy. That's why I was so against Clinton. And that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason I love Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard and Nina Turner and Jill Stein. Give me your thoughts below. What do you think regarding my viewpoint? Thank you so much for listening.